Welcome to One on One, the series that brings you some of the region's biggest hospitality professionals on the scene. Today we have the one and only Antonio Gonzalez, CEO of Sunset Hospitality Group. Hello, Antonio.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me actually in this beautiful location. We are at Mott 32 and the view is just incredible.
Yeah, that's Dubai.
That's Dubai. Thanks for having us. How are you?
Very good, very good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you for asking.
Fantastic.
How has been your year so far?
The year has been fantastic, really great year. In all levels, business-wise, personal-wise, it's been an extraordinary year.
Now you've been described as a visionary, and you are. And you are also a very successful hospitality businessman. You run a hospitality brand that is growing by the minute and taking not only Dubai but the world by storm. But I want to start at the beginning. So I want to go back in time just a little bit and I want to know about your childhood and your upbringing. I want to get a sense of who you are and find out where hospitality found you or where you found hospitality.
Yeah. Well, if we go back on time, I'm Spanish. I've been born and raised in Spain. I moved out of Spain when I was around 22 years old. I moved to the US for a while. And I had my first job back there where I was doing a very boring corporate job, which then I did for another 10 years all around the world. And that landed me in Dubai. Hospitality didn't came across to me until late when I was in the 30s. And I got exposed to some opportunities to jump into the industry. So I quit my boring corporate job and I decided to become an entrepreneur. And at that time, I founded a company where we were doing hotels, boutique hotels. And we did that for a few years. Ultimately, we sold that business and we decided to focus in F&B. And we opened our first restaurant here in Dubai around 12 years ago.
And what was that restaurant?
That very first restaurant was called Tapeo, and we opened in Galerie Lafayette. It was a tiny counter and, where we were serving paellas and tapas. And we did that because nobody wanted to give us a space. It was impossible to get any location for opening a proper restaurant in Dubai. So we decided to take whatever we could and saw how good our food was, how good our service was. And that opened the door to get the first proper restaurant, which at that time was El Sur, which opened and still is there in the Western Minas Gerais. And from there, I met Nas, which is the co-founder of Sunset. He had some business and we started to do business together, and then this thing became bigger and bigger until today.
So when you came to Dubai with the boring corporate job, there was something that happened that proposed an opportunity for you within hospitality. What was that one thing that you just felt like you knew, I want to get into this because I can do this?
You know, I really stumbled upon it. It wasn't something that I was planned. I wanted to have another career. That was very clear to me. I wanted to do something on my own. I was doing very well in that corporate environment, but I felt like it was the time to get out of it and do something on my own. And I had a good friend who was in hospitality. And I said, why don't you give it a crack to this? It was not something that I planned or thought about it, but I dig a little bit into that. I like the idea. We were doing boutique hotel, which is something very appealing for anyone, you know. Beautiful hotels with amazing service, with a great restaurant. So, you know, it's easy to like something like that. You know, something that everybody can relate. And then as I got into that, got into the dynamics of the business, pretty much, I think every business has some principles that are very similar, and you can apply to across all industries. You know, you put your customer first, you think about the needs and the trends, and then you build all your offering around that, and you evolve it. You create a good team that can deliver on that premise. You give them the right environment to be successful, and just make it happen and grow it.
Well, I think I speak on behalf of the millions that live in the city. I'm so glad you decided to become a hospitality entrepreneur. So you've given us great locations like this to enjoy. I can imagine that your first taste of entrepreneurship at that time was not easy, of course, and you have seen the industry grow from then and now.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest noticeable changes that stand out to you from then and now?
Well, it's never easy. Yeah, let me start with that because it sounds that all of this has been a walk in the park, but it has been very, very challenging. And we have ups and downs, and we have situations where you really don't sleep at night thinking how you're going to make it. Especially during COVID, was very, very, very challenging. Where we have, I think, anything related to travel and hospitality were industries that we really took a big hit. But somehow we managed to come back stronger from that. But those were very, very challenging. In terms of trends and what we've seen over the last few years, generally speaking, we're seeing a sophistication of the if you're talking about food and beverage, about the restaurant, a sophistication of the offering. We have seen a migration from the fine dining to what I call social dining. So if you look at about 15, 20, 25 years ago, going out to a fancy restaurant was the Michelin star experience with 8 courses and a very etiquette service. I think that has still a room to play in the industry, but that has been a bit kind of taking a secondary stage where the prime stage is more on the social restaurant, the Sumas, the Suisambas, we're talking about La Petite Maison, the Signor Sassi, this beautiful restaurant where you have amazing food, but you have more of a social environment. We've seen also another big trend, which is the departure of the industry in 2 different kind of industries, kind of split in 2. One is the social part of the dining, where restaurant that you go to get together with the friends or with the family, that it's not about the food. And then we've seen all these QSR restaurant, the quick service restaurant, being more of a commodity-driven concept and less of an experience where it's all about, I have to eat. I want to have a breakfast, I want to have a lunch. And those has been dramatically changed by the introduction of the delivery system. So you can have any QSR, anytime, 24/7 at home. And that, I think, has changed also the dynamics of that part of the industry quite a lot. We don't play in that industry. We are very focused on what we call the social dining when it comes to the restaurant. And when we look at the hotels, I think it's a bit of the same. I think what we're seeing, especially with the new generation and our clientele, we see that migration from the traditional great luxury hotels with a very rigid etiquette and process to a more social restaurant driven more by lifestyle. For example, in our hotels, we don't have a proper check-in process where you have all the data. Our guests come, we sit there and we invite them for a drink. That's the first thing that you do. And it's something that is very, very appreciated by the client. So we see that this transition, being a more relaxed. Sometimes luxury can be done in a more relaxed way, and I think that's a common thing and a common trend that we're seeing across the full spectrum of hospitality.
I like that relaxed luxury that you've described so well. You mentioned how important social dining is for you as a group. Your Sunset Hospitality is so good at just picking outstanding concepts and great locations and incredible menus. What are some of the things you look for? We were having a conversation about this location before we started rolling. About you walked into this venue and you just knew whatever we're doing something in here. So what is it for you that you just know? What are the staple key characteristics you look for?
I have to say we are very privileged. Many developers that come to us and they say, we have this development, why don't you take a look? And we have a sneak peek before other operators. So that gives us an opportunity to get access to very unique location. Sometimes, as here, you walk into a place like, we can do something here for sure, no matter what. And then we come up with what is the right concept to put in that space. Sometimes we have a brand or an idea that we have developed that we like a lot and say, okay, where we would put it, where would be relevant. For us, it's all go back to the client. We always put our clients in the center, and I think that's the key to our success. I think how we can get an experience that is differentiating, that our clients are going to come and enjoy and have fun. And go back to what I was saying before. in our restaurants or in our hotels, in our beach clubs, our clients don't come to sleep or to eat or to drink. They come to have fun. They come to enjoy. So we need to create environments where that experience can be created. And that, I think, is the starting principle. Part of the experience is the journey to arrive to that location, and which is very important. And part of that is also one year location, what environment you have. What is the height that you have? What is the space that you have? What are the views that you have? So all of that add to the experience, because remember, it's not about the food, which is very important.
Yes.
And we have fantastic chef, and I'm very proud of the amazing food that we put in our venues. But that's one pillar. As important as is the pillar of the service, as important is the pillar of the moment that you do the reservation to the moment that you leave the restaurant. So all of that creates a 360 experience, and you have to touch on all these points to make it successful.
I'm so glad that you mentioned, like, the very, very beginning, before you even enter the door of an establishment, is how you get there, how you arrive. What is valet like? You know, what is the navigation towards the door? Because everything matters and it's important. You mentioned that the most important thing, apart from the delicious food, of course, which does exist, is the fun aspect. How do you sort of measure that? Is it a tricky thing to measure, no?
Not really, especially nowadays. We have so much information and it's available. So we have guest satisfaction indices that we measure. Whether in the restaurants you have the TripAdvisors, and then you have the Google reviews. In the hotels we have booking ratings, also the TripAdvisor. So we create a indices that measure all of the different websites that are out there, and we create a platform of index. And there's something that we measure in our own business, and our team is very aware of where I stand in on all of that. And I have to say, well, the experience starts at the moment that you are thinking to go to a restaurant. So it's almost at the moment of the advertising, or where we're communicating, we're making aware.
Right.
We have to create that, because that's the first impression that you have on the concept. Again, until the moment that you leave the restaurant, and if you leave, the memory that you have after and the follow-up you have after. Obviously, the core of the experience happens in the venue, but all those touch points are important. And if you have created a proper experience from the beginning, the moment that you enter the restaurant, you have a different mindset. The same, and even more important, is the hotel, because in the hotel you have so many more touch points, because you are sleeping there. You have a bed, you have a breakfast, you have sports, you have a beach or whatever you have. You have so many touch points. So we create very carefully the moment that you are thinking about the booking, the preparation to arrival, and then the departure. All of that is very, very important.
You mentioned your team. I want to talk about your team. You have a very big team. You're growing. You have a team all over the world, I'm sure. You are the leader of this establishment. What kind of leader are you inside Sunset Hospitality?
We have a great team and a big team, actually, both. We are now close to 4,000 people in the group.
Wow.
And growing, which is actually one of the biggest challenges to onboard talent and onboard talent that is not only added value, but has a similar mindset that the team that is already in place. So we've been building this on the back of our team, and like they are the core of the business. As I told you before, we are very customer focused, but this business is not about the location, it's not about the menu, it's about the people. And that's something that if you get it right from the very beginning, it helps to grow. So I'm extremely proud of the team that we have put together. Many of them have been with us from the beginning, and as we grow, they are expanding, they're taking over more and more responsibilities. It's also fantastic to see the people grow with us. We have now our biggest office here in Dubai, but we have also office in Europe. We have a regional office in Barcelona, and we have offices also in Singapore and Bali, where we operate our Asian business. So yes, growing and expanding. Now, in terms of what type of leader, I don't know. I mean, that's something maybe you have to ask my team. They might tell you better than me. I try to I tell you what I try to be. I don't know how much I achieve
Okay.
or how much I'm at that.
That
But
sounds good.
I try to empower a lot the team, and it's one of the guiding principles that we have in the company is empowerment. I am a firm believer that this in hospitality you need to have that sense of ownership. So from the general managers to the director of operation to the regional directors to all the senior leaders, they have to own the business. Same as a waiter has to own the table that is serving, and a chef has to own the kitchen that he's working on. That is very, very important. So in order to do that, it's very important to give them enough room to be themselves, because every person leads in a different way, and just give them the right tool to be the best that they can be. So we spend a lot of money in training and development, not only in-house, but also with third parties. And we make sure that they have enough space to shine and to be themselves. So that for me is one of the key principles. I think it's important we set up the strategy, we set up some big guidelines, we set up some ways of working that are common through all the company, but at the same time, each one of them has to be successful on their own.
I love that. They have some room to grow and room to fly and shine.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I have had a few conversations with people in the industry, and one of the things hospitality professionals have said to me is they sometimes find it challenging to bring in capable, excited, enthusiastic young talent, because young people don't necessarily want to work in hospitality. Antonio, they want your job, but they just want to get there, you know? They feel like it's a very hard industry to work in. The hours are long. They don't want to get their hands dirty. It's a very tough job. How do you attract more young talent into your organization?
Well, usually anything that is worth it is hard. Usually,
Yes.
I still have to find the one that is easy. I think it's about culture and company culture. I always say that whoever wants to work with us has to work both ways. You know, we are not only hiring a person, but that person is also committing his time and his future to the company. So it's not only about salary, which is also important, but it's about you working in a culture and an environment that you feel comfortable. We try to be relevant to the community, to be relevant to the teams, to be relevant about the ethics of how we run the business. And again, as we grow, it becomes a bit more challenging because that culture is easy to pass it one-to-one, but we try to cascade that through all the organization. You know, our HR team is fantastic. I cannot compliment them enough. We have a fantastic team who is very active on recruitment, which is one of the bottlenecks that we always face about how many people we can onboard, we can pass those culture and those values, and how we can get them up to speed with the job. But we are very active on recruitment on universities. We do internship programs. We have collaboration with all the major hospitality schools around the world. And I think part of this generation that you were saying that they want that kind of leadership job, I want these guys. I want them. You know, if they are really capable, they're going to become leaders in the company. And hopefully they will lead and they will be independently running their business under our umbrella, of course, hopefully. But they will leave a lot of room and to own that business somehow. So we want those people. I think those people also want an environment where they are recognized. And I think some of the larger hospitality groups, they get a bit lost on that, maybe because they are too big, they're too corporatized, they have certain restrictions. I think companies like ours, which still is relatively small, have the capacity to be more, to create an environment where they can make more of an impact. And I think, again, that young talent want to make an impact. They want to be noticed. They want to be recognized, and it's easier in this environment.
I love what you said about young people want to be validated and they want recognition, because it is true. And I think perhaps we need to start focusing on how to attract them with the environments that we have, because I think they're eager. If you look at the F&B space in itself, there's so many young F&B entrepreneurs that are coming up. I have a few questions and some advice for those entrepreneurs a little later, but I want to talk about the importance of exporting brands to countries.
Yeah.
Why is this important? You've done a very good job at bringing some international brands over to this region. How do you do it? Do they approach you? Do you approach them? Why did they choose you out of all of the hospitality groups they could have went with?
Yeah. So in terms of bringing brands, we have brought some brands because we always felt that they were adding some value, or they have a special element that we couldn't create in-house. This is a good example where we are right now, Mod 32. So the Chinese cuisine is very particular, very specific. It works almost on a different way than how the Western cuisines work, the way that the kitchen is organized and so on. We met the guys of Maximal Concepts who own the brand Mod 32, and for us, one of the first things is, do we have chemistry with the partners that we're going to have? Are we going to get along? It's very, very important, and never should be underestimated, because you're going to spend a lot of hours, and you have good moments, and you have some moments that are not so good, and you want to make sure that you are able to work together. So in this case, we have fantastic chemistry, same as with any other brand that we have partnered with. And that, I think, is the starting point. Then it's about having a common vision about how the brands should land, where we are operating, whether it's in Dubai or in other countries where we have taken some of the brands. If you have the common vision and the common alignment in terms of what is the location, the way they're operated, how it has to be adapted to the local market, then 90% of the job is done. When it comes to our brands, I think we are the same, but the other way around. So one of the major shifts that we have seen over the last few years is traditionally a lot of developers, a lot of landlords wanted to have international brands in their portfolio coming to Dubai. So when you're going to be negotiating a site, they say, oh, but what brand are you bringing? Now that has changed, and I think the market has evolved to the point that a lot of new brands are recognized, born and in Dubai, and they have been very successful. We have many in our portfolio, other operators have a lot, and that, I think, opened the doors to entrepreneurs coming up with new brands and so on. I think it's a sign of the market maturing. Now, the beauty that we are seeing on the last 4 or 5 years is that the brands are so powerful here in Dubai that now we are expanding outside. And not only because we are present in those countries and we are doing business development, we have developers coming to us and say, you know what, we like this brand that you have in Dubai, can we take it outside? So we have done a bunch of license and deals, management deals, to take some of our brands outside, and some of our growth is actually coming from that platform.
We spoke a lot about F&B, and I know you have hotels also within the group. You've got 4, if I'm not mistaken now, and they are all not in the region at the moment. Can you tell me a little bit about when you made the transition, or when you decided to add hotels to the portfolio, why, and when we're going to see some sunset hotels in Dubai?
So we launched the hotel and resort division 4 years ago, and we opened, maybe the worst time to take that decision. Is we were actually doing the refurbishment of the hotel, and then COVID came in 2020, and we had to cancel the opening. It was the worst time to be doing this. But then we opened 2021, the first hotel, and it became very, very successful. Since then, we've been growing every year. This year we did the 3rd summer season, which is our Met Hotel in Bodrum. And I have to say, we've been #1 in terms of guest satisfaction, the measure that we're saying for the market. We've been on the top 2, top 3 in terms of occupancies, and in terms of ADRs and performance. So every metric we have been fantastic. And we're very, very proud of Met and the team behind it and what we have done there. Now we expanded this summer, opened the 2nd Met in Marbella, a beautiful property with 250 rooms, and it's a brand that we're going to be expanding as well. Why we open outside and not here? That's a good question, and I ask myself that all the time. Somehow we never managed to get the right spot to open the hotel here. Indeed, when we planned to develop a hotel, we developed that with a location here in mind. That then it didn't become available, and they said, okay, we have done all the work for the hotel. Where can we implement this business? An opportunity came across, and we just jumped into it, and we did it there. I think now we have proven that we can develop and operate very successful hotels, both from a customer perspective, but also from a business and financial perspective, which is very important. And now we are just accelerating the growth there. We have recently signed 5 new hotels, which we're going to be opening in Asia, and we have another 4 that in advanced negotiation, some more in Europe, and maybe one also here in the region. One of the key priorities for us is to open a Met in Dubai and some of our other hotel brands, like Social Living and the new brands that we are launching. And we see a lot of room for growth and on that segment for us here.
Very, very busy, Antonio. You are going to be even more busy than you are right now, which is good, I guess. You know, busy is good.
You know, if you're doing what you like, you're never busy.
This quote is lovely, and it rings very true for you, because you have a very beautiful, relaxed aura about yourself as well, which makes me feel relaxed. And I can't believe you do all of these things that you do. You had an affiliation or partnership with Goldman Sachs as well. I'd like you to explain that a little bit, because I think it's very interesting. One of the things I'm interested to know is, how did you attract the likes of Goldman Sachs? Because now we're going from hospitality into finance, and it's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, Goldman Sachs has been financing us for the last couple of years. I mean, the relationship started, I have to say the relationship started in 2019, but then we had to pause everything because of COVID. And then as we came back from COVID, we talked again to the team, and they were very keen to jump again into helping us on financing our growth. So we have a facility with them. So they give us $35 million to help us with our growth. The amount is important amount, of course, but it's a relatively small amount for Goldman. What it is important for us is a couple of things. One is the validation of our business model, our company, and the growth that we can generate. And I think that's something that where Goldman believes in us. And having an institution like them and the team behind, which is extremely professional and very solid, it was very, very important for us. The second, I think, is this is somehow a testimony of the success of Dubai as well. Many of these international investment banks and financial institutions have been a bit shy about the Middle East and about Dubai.
Right.
I think this has changed also over the last 5 to 10 years, and we see an acceleration as we speak. So there is a much more interest of funding coming to the region than in the previous year, and I think we're going to see more transaction, not only like the one we have, but in other type of structure how we move on. So yes, so it's been a fantastic journey with them, and a relationship that we're going to keep on growing.
It certainly is a partnership that is, very important as well for the industry also to take note of and see what is possible. I want to jump from finance to sustainability.
Yeah.
What are some of the most important milestones you've reached in terms of sustainability this year? It's been a conversation everybody's having across sectors.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit of a journey. When you start this business, I have to say, maybe 12 years ago, it was much less relevant because it was not on a priority list of everybody. So there are two things. One is become, as a society, has become much more relevant over the last few years. The other one is, as you grow, the business become much more important. It's different when you have a single business, you're trying to survive and to make it to the end of the month and to kind of grow from there. That when you have a larger business, you have economies of scale, and you can look at things that can make a difference. So I have to say, on this one, our team has been very proactive on their own, on coming up with initiatives to do that. We have a general guideline, but not a specific goal until very recently. And over the last 3 years, we have been a lot of initiatives, from silly things like removing plastic straws from our venues, to recycling, to this year, something that was very nice, one of our team developed coasters out of recycled bottles, which then we were selling and giving away. We have put a lot of solar panels in some of our venues, in our hotels. And what we are now doing a transition of looking at how we can be more, more structured of doing this in forward. So we are now creating an objective of how we're going to measure things from a sustainability perspective, and we're going to put resources behind it. So we're actively recruiting right now somebody who is going to be leading that program, making sure that we achieve certain goals and we look at things on a more structured way. So it doesn't become as a random initiative, but something that is core to our business. Even the way that we have our vision, our mission now, sustainability has become one of those pillars as well.
You said one of my favorite words, measure. And I think it's so important that we start measuring, because like you said, sustainability was not on the priority list a few years ago, but it is now. And the only way we're going to see the progress we're making and how to do better is by measuring. So I look forward to seeing that very soon, I'm sure. Do you have a routine? Are you a routine person, or do you just wake up and every day is different from yesterday?
I kind of both. So I have a routine in terms of that some blocks of time that I try to follow. But I think one of the things that is very appealing about my job is that every day is totally different. You know, there's no day like the other. But yeah, I try to start the day with exercise and finish the day trying to see my kids. Those are the two things that I try to balance. It doesn't work all the time, but at least I try. And then during the day, everything can happen. You know, it's a lot of meetings. There's not like a system that follows. So I try to be very organized to be able to cope with all the flow of work that comes and all the communication and all the requests that we get. But again, one of the things that I love is that every day is very different.
And for you as an individual, perhaps as well as an entrepreneur, what is the most important thing to you?
As an individual, I think the most important thing for me is my family. I think my kids, my wife, they are the core of everything we do. I think you have to have a reason for the things that you do, and I think for most of us, it's the family, you know, we have at home. When you are on these growth phases and you're like we are, you have to sacrifice a little bit of the time that you spend with the family. But you have to think also a bit mid-term and long-term that you're doing it for the greater good. So I think I'm very lucky to have a fantastic support system at home, and they're very understanding when I'm traveling or when not there, and they've always been like that. So that helps a lot, I have to say. So on a personal level, I think that's very, very important. On a professional level, I think what really drives me is this growth, is creating new things. You know, it's making the team bigger, it's able to scale things up. You know, I think we have a model that's somehow works. So it's okay. Let's see how big we can make it. Let's see how much fun we can have with it. And I keep on saying the same to our team. Make sure you have fun every day. You know, if you come to the work and you are hating yourself, you're not doing the right job. Let's find you another job, hopefully within the group. If not, maybe you're not in the right company. But I think it's very, very important that you enjoy what you're doing.
I love it. So how big can we make this and how much fun can we have? These are fantastic company values. I want to know from you, your kids. I don't know their ages, but what's their favorite Sunset Hospitality restaurant?
Well, each one of them has a different one. But Sui Samba, I have to say, was probably one of the favorites. They like also goldfish a lot. My little one, who is 7, he loves Mod 32.
Wow, he's got great taste.
Yeah, they're a bit spoiled when it comes to culinary
I can only imagine.
You know, I think I tried Japanese food when I was like 20 years old. They've been eating all type of cuisines since they were very young. They love, I think, like kids, they love everything that is very tasty and colorful and rich. So they love to go out, and we try to take them out very often.
Beautiful. What do you think is the one thing that young entrepreneurs looking to get in this space, what do you think is the one thing that they do wrong that you have noticed? That's why we have such a high rate of not so successful F&B businesses.
Well, there is, for any entrepreneur, not only hospitality, it's something that usually we underestimate when you do a transition from a corporate job to hospitality, to being an entrepreneur, or to whenever you start, which is all the legal environment. It's very important, meaning set up the company, contracts, leases, all of that. Is something that you have to spend a lot of time and get it right. And it's boring, it's not fun, but it's very important you get it right. And the other one is cash flows, are very, very important. So not only having a business that looks good on paper, it has to be cash positive if you want to be sustainable for the long term. So that's a general comment that as I move from a corporate job to being an entrepreneur is very, very important. In this specific industry, more than anything is to be passionate about what you're doing. You mentioned before, and you're totally right, it takes a lot of hours, it's a lot of hard work, you don't have weekends, you don't have holidays, your days off are the opposite at the rest of the world, so it's very, very, very demanding. So you really have to love it so much that compensates for all the other hassle that goes around with that.
Good advice for young people looking to start any business. The boring stuff is always the stuff that gets overlooked, but it is important because that's basically, if you don't have a profitable business, you have a hobby. And I think a lot of people have a hobby, and very few people have a successful business. What does the future of hospitality look like for you?
Well, for us, I think it's more of the same. We have set up the key principle of how we're growing. And we're going to be doing many more hotels. That's one of the priorities we have. We expect to reach 20 hotels by 2025, and we are on track to deliver that, which are fantastic because we moved from 0 to 20 hotels in 5 years. It's great. Certain that we have the backbone of the F&B to support it, and that helps a lot. And then I think global expansion. So we have a food now in Asia, we have food in Europe. Obviously, we are very solid here in the Middle East. There will be over the next 3 to 5 years, we will enter also the US, which is a very competitive market, and we plan also to have presence there and keep on growing. You know, we had this motto in Sunset. We say our business is about bringing people together. Which go back to being social. So anything that is on social hospitality is something we're going to be doing. Our restaurants, our hotels, our beach clubs are all about getting people together to have fun, to enjoy themselves. There are some other areas on the hospitality we haven't entered yet, but we are looking at. Members Club is one of those.
Okay.
So this year of 24, we'll open the first ones, and it's something that also we're going to be rolling out. And anything that we think that complement that kind of social hospitality is where we're going to be playing. And I think that's also where the market is, the trends are going in that direction. So we are not inventing anything. I think the clients are setting up the trends. We just kind of following them. Sometimes you're lucky and you do something that becomes a bit of a trend on its own, but reality is that the clients themselves, and especially nowadays with all the information, are the ones creating the trends.
So Antonio, I want to congratulate you on achieving so much, for sacrificing so much, and giving the hospitality industry so much color, so much fun dining, so much social dining. You've done an incredible job. You are not, we had this conversation off camera, we do not get to see you very often, so I am so grateful for your time. You're a very fascinating human being with a very successful business and a very meaningful business, because dining is a part of life and you're creating a very beautiful experience for the people that get to experience what you're doing. So thank you for your time. Before you go, you're not out of the hot seat just yet. I've got a really fun little exercise for us. It's a little segment on the show. We say this or that.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you a few things, 2 options. You choose the one that speaks to you the most.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Okay.
Okay, there's no wrong answer, right? Okay. Chocolate or cheese?
Chocolate.
Good choice. Early mornings or late nights?
Late nights.
Dining out or dining in?
Dining out.
Dining out, obviously. Ocean view or city view?
Ocean view.
Ocean view. Cooking show or food documentary?
Cooking show.
Cooking show? Fantastic. Thank you so much, Antonio. This was a blast.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.